Welcome, explorers, wanderers, and people who absolutely ignore the main quest. Today we're cracking open the treasure chest of open world gaming, the genre that started off as a couple of pixels pretending to be a vast landscape back in the 80s and 90s. We believed that that tiny green square was a forest. Now look at us. MMOs bigger than our childhood imaginations, side quests that multiply like gremlins after midnight, and maps so huge you need a snack break just to scroll across them. We're talking evolution, memories, chaos, creativity, and all the ways open world games have shaped how we play and honestly, how we live.
Welcome to Pixelaged, where every memory is a safe point.
This is the podcast where we talk about how gaming used to feel, how it feels now, and what changed along the way. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will, and today we're talking about the open world concept in video games. I don't really feel like this concept really needs a history, but little history on this. When you think of open world, we're thinking of specifically any type of game where you can go where you want without really any kind of hand guards or what have you. You're not stuck in a hallway. You can just explore. And I feel like for a lot of us, thinking about how things were like when we were younger, the first game that we experienced a mechanic like this was The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. Certainly that comes to mind right away. I don't know in the 80s if I can think of any other game other than Zelda that felt that way. I'm sure there were, but Zelda is certainly the prominent one. I do know that there were a couple that were kind of a little bit more maybe on the space side, sci-fi side, I think they were. But Zelda is such a good example and a great starting point for this episode because I loved playing Zelda when I was younger, and getting into that. And the open world feel, it felt massive.
Right.
Obviously, comparisons now are different, but it felt huge because you didn't know where you were going.
Right.
There was no maps yet. At least for me, it was me and my buddies going over to my buddy Terry's house and playing it after basketball practice and going, okay, where's the next dungeon? I have no idea.
So did your friends beat The Legend of Zelda by trial and error, or did you have to rely on Nintendo Power back in the day?
Oh, I love that you asked this question. So, yes, we did depend on some help, but Nintendo Power wasn't out yet.
Oh.
So they had something called Nintendo Fan Club. And we would get the magazine, but it was like once a month that you would get it, kind of like Nintendo Power, but it wouldn't have the whole map. It would have a dungeon. And that was it. So we had to look for the dungeon still. However, Nintendo used to have a 1-800 number that you could call, and the gaming expert would help you answer questions. And yes, I did make that phone call a couple times.
And your parents are like, why is there a $500 bill on the credit card?
No, it didn't cost any money. It was free back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, it was a 1-800 number. Yep, it was free. And you could call it. And I don't know how long they kept it open. It'd be great to look that little history lesson up, but it was so great. And they were super cool. You're like, I'm stuck here. And you know what was funny is they wouldn't tell you exactly the answer. They would say, check this quadrant of the map or go past this section or give you a clue. They did it for Zelda, at least in my experience. And they also answered questions for me for Metroid, the original. So coffee break. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I remember having the Nintendo Power because my brothers had it back in the day.
Right.
And I don't remember ever being stuck on a game and needing it for help because when I went back to play Nintendo, the original NES, back when I was older and understood how games worked, I my brothers had already beaten it and all that kind of stuff. So if I got stuck,
Right.
I just referred to them and
That's fair.
was fine. But no, that's really cool. I didn't know it was free. And based on,
Hmm.
a lot of conversations we already had about Nintendo, the fact that they had a service that didn't cost you anything
All right.
is a shock.
I mean, and I mean, considering the topic here, open world, right? Like
Right.
in that day, without any walkthroughs, there was no internet. There was no internet, ladies and gentlemen. That's just how it was. And so you had to trial and error that sucker, call the number if you really, really needed help. And again, it was that first experience of open world was pretty daunting, but it was very exciting.
Mhm.
And it'd be fair to say that that was what got me addicted to the open world concept. Even Metroid, I feel, even though Metroidvania is its own thing, that size, that feeling of how big it was, similar feeling in that era, in that particular type of era of gaming anyway. But Legend of Zelda open world, having to go fight monsters and get health and collect items,
Right.
like that wasn't anything I had experienced yet. So,
Yeah. No, it was a great game. Definitely mind blowing experience when we played the game. And then when it
mhm.
comes going past The Legend of Zelda, is there something that comes to your mind thinking of Nintendo, Super Nintendo,
Mm.
beginning children era, what you would consider an open world game?
Let's see. So now we're moving into Super Nintendo era. And in the 90s, but there were so many games that started shifting that way.
Hmm.
I can speak to this from my initial thoughts. That's why I love these questions because it makes me think on my feet. I remember the Might and Magic series on the PC, kind of that next level of open world, even before MMOs. That's what I remember. But Super Nintendo, again, Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy. You know what I mean? Like those were my open world experiences then, early 90s. And then mid 90s got into the PC. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always Final Fantasy, and I was trying to
Mm.
pull from your memory bank so I wasn't talking about Final Fantasy yet again in another episode.
You've been like, I'm the Final Fantasy guy. He's the
Yeah,
Skyrim guy.
yeah, it's okay. Yeah, very much true for us. But yeah, no, I mean, again, Final Fantasy IV, I believe I mentioned, is the first Final Fantasy game I beat on my own. It was
Okay.
not the first game I ever beat on my own, but
Mm.
I don't know that that truly falls into, I guess, modern day open world because it
Mm.
still kind of has, you know, the railing or the wall, if you will, because you need to get the boat to go to a certain area. You need to get the airship to
True.
go to a certain area. So it
True.
wasn't just explore, kind
Mm.
of like more modern games are today, but they had to do something, right? Because the story was there and the
Mm-hmm.
technology was limited to what we have today.
Oh, yeah.
So playing these games, they were all inspiring growing up.
I loved him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, Breath of the Wild came out and it was just like, okay, this is what you were picturing as a
Right.
child the whole time.
Right. Like that reference is perfect. When we started playing even the newer Zelda games, but now thinking about where it's come to. Because
Mm,
growing up with them, we can reference those games, the impact it had on us as kids. Chrono Trigger, as I mentioned earlier, it was back and forth in time. And then you had A Link to the Past. And there was a lot of this really neat, dare I say, reuse of the same map area, but with different look and feel and stuff.
right.
And that was really great. A great use, by the way, from the developers of what they had. It was amazing.
Hmm.
And then as we shift to basically what it is now, Breath of the Wild, great example. It really began to transform in the 90s into the MMOs, and then of course Elder Scrolls series. So, but I'll keep my mammoth cheese to myself this episode. So,
Yeah, you just mentioned World of Warcraft, and
mhm.
you and I have not played that game in forever. But
Long
the
time.
thing that still sticks out to me was if you load into either continent, so the left or right continents, I'm forgetting the names, it's been too long.
Hmm.
But the moment you're in that continent, unless you zone into a city, you could walk from the southernmost part of the continent all the way to the north without a single loading screen
It's true.
whatsoever.
It's
And that
true.
is still, to my mind, crazy that you can do that.
The seamless transition between areas was very cool. You had some loading, like you said, when you would traverse into certain areas, like
Mhm.
underground into cities or whatever. But I remember that being a big differentiator from an open world concept in World of Warcraft versus EverQuest. Because even in EverQuest, when I went from zone to zone, there was a loading screen.
Right.
And so it still was big. It was open world. It was awesome. And every zone was fun and different. But WoW started bringing in the, okay, you just keep moving, right? You're not zoning. You're just moving from one section to the other. And more games started doing that. Like I said, Elder Scrolls did do that with like Morrowind, for example. When that came out, it just began to bring in this idea that I can traverse one zone to the next and I can watch the environment change, right? I think that was really cool. I loved that part. And nowadays you and I play games together like Valheim. That's open world
Yeah.
survival, right?
I was
You
You
know?
beat me to it. I was
Oh.
literally thinking, like, my Super Nintendo me back in the early '90s didn't understand what Minecraft was. You
Oh,
know, and
right,
then that game
right,
came out, and it was just not only is this open world, but make of it what you will.
right,
Go,
right.
and it's just it's it's almost like they're trying to solve a cure for cancer or something like that. Is how do we make open worlds truly open world and not
Oh,
have any of these limitations whatsoever? And they're
that's
just
true.
continuously expanding. And some games have limitations, like to your
Mm,
point, 14 has loading screens. You know,
right.
there's these tiny little areas that you explore, and there's world events and quests that you do and whatnot. But past that, you load into the next part of the map. It's not
Hmm.
truly open world. And
Right.
with MMOs, it's much more difficult because you have to have servers that support thousands of players playing at the
Oh
same
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
So it's, kind of back and forth on single player and MMOs from that standpoint.
I definitely I definitely believe that as it moved forward and where we are today, the expectation to begin to shift on our side as the gamers and how it really affected us.
Mm-hmm.
We began to really see the potential and it just increased the excitement for me. I love being able to run around and do whatever. And what's funny, and I know we talked about Valheim, but this isn't the only game we've played that's like this, where Will and we actually, shall we say, know our roles. Is that fair to say that
Yes.
we know our roles? Like there is just a way we play and it works great together. Whether we played Scrap Mechanic, whether we played Valheim, whether we played Enshrouded together, no matter what we played, inevitably, I am the guy who'd run around like an idiot and just go fight everything and collect resources and be like, and then just bring the stuff back. I do some building, but let's be honest, my architectural capabilities is not necessarily as good as some other folks we know.
I'm right there with you.
But you've got the chest and inventory management down, which was nice, which we talked about in our last episode. So props there, and that matters in open world a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And
Yeah.
though and that again, how did that change our expectations or affect us as gamers? For me, it made me realize that you know what, I would love to experience the game as if I'm there as much as possible in every game. So
Expand on that.
so I remember when they began to introduce the idea that there was interactable world objects
Okay.
that I could break down things, whether that's mining,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's building, whatever it was. Then it was now you play a role in that world. More so than just a Final Fantasy Zelda situation, you can be a unique player in that world. That came out of the MMO experience, right?
Right.
You're your own person. Now we have these games where the choices matter and more often.
Hmm.
And I look at BG3. I mean, I know it's not technically, well, there's open world concepts there. You can roam around, but you got to progress the story. You can't just
Right.
stay in the same place. It's not really open world. But when you put all that together, what I mean by that in a nutshell is if you're a developer out there and you can take that concept of choices matter, you build your own unique life inside there. Not Second Life, not those games like that. No, no, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you and I and our friends could all play together, kind of have a Minecraft like situation,
Hmm.
but also have all the other RPG elements and then include some NPCs that have good intelligence. That's what I mean. That's where my
Man,
expectation continues to grow. So,
you just explained at least several hundred modded Minecraft servers. Speaking of the Tinkerer here, I figured you would know this, but
mm-hmm.
you're that too cool dad that won't play Minecraft, so you don't know
Oh
much
no,
about
no,
it.
I like Minecraft. I played Minecraft for a while. I did. I did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, you beat our third point, which is why did it change for
Mm,
open world concept? And I think it changed just due to the popularity and the awe
mm,
inspiring moments that these games create. Like I
right.
remember, of course, I just mentioned it, Breath of the Wild. I remember playing it, and there was this big ravine area
Mm,
where you could tell there was a river there, but it's all dried up, and
right.
you're just drawn to it, and you follow it, and you see that there's just this tiny little opening into a cave,
Yeah.
and then you just notice that it's not a dungeon like one of the trials, but
Mm-hmm.
there are so many guardians in there that are just trying to blast you, and you need to get to the end so you
I
can collect
remember that.
something. And I was just playing that. I was like, this has to be one of the greatest games ever made. Just
It's such a good reference too. That's the one that looks like ruins, right? You go in and
yes,
it's
correct.
yes. Oh, it's so good.
And there's so many air drafts that you have to float around, but also dodge the many, at
Oh
least
man.
20 standstill guardians just blasting you as soon as you
Oh
poke your
yeah.
head through the corner. Oh, I'm in danger.
And you hear that sound.
Yeah,
Uh oh.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. That's I love that part of the open world experience too, where you just don't know what you're gonna get.
Hmm.
It's just that. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, excellent for that. And I would say that there is different genres, and I'm going to ask you this, especially because this is more this is more a will type genre game, right?
Oh, no.
And so when I think, why did it change?
Okay.
Because we're on that subject, we're on that question. Why did it
Hmm.
change? Why do you think they still brought open world change the way they did into the ones we were just talking about, but maybe a little differently into sci-fi? How the vastness of space concept, right? Like there's some games that have done it well, and there's some games that didn't do it so well. So why do you think they changed it a little uniquely there? Because I saw some differences in the sci-fi area.
So, I mean, when I think of sci-fi and
Mm.
open galaxy, open universe, whatever, No Man's Sky is the only thing I
I'm
think
so
of.
glad you said that. I'm
Yeah,
so glad
no,
you
it's
said
just
that.
that is the main game where I'm flying to this universe, I am seamlessly landing on this planet, taking off,
Mm-hmm.
going to another planet, so on and so forth, and you can spend all day, every day doing just that, and you'll never see every single planet in existence
So
in that game,
great. So
and
great.
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's also as amazing as that is, it's also limiting because
Okay.
you can only preload, pre-generate so many events or buildings or NPCs or creature types to be
Mm-hmm.
on those planets because the core mechanic is the vastness of the millions of billions of planets you can run into.
True.
Whereas you have, I'm assuming you're referencing like Starfield, where you have only so many planets,
Right.
and then they try to flesh out the planet. I haven't played it, so I can't speak to it, but
No,
they
you're right.
have like 12 or so planets, and they don't have them fully fleshed out, but it's more
Mm.
fleshed out than a planet in No Man's Sky would be, is my understanding anyway.
Yeah, from what I see, that's and you went right to the point. This is great that we're so in sync because, well, I really believe that. I think this is what makes us great because we both have thought this way and we both have experienced the games in similar ways, even ones we haven't played and we've looked at, we've watched videos on, try to understand the concepts, pros and cons. No Man's Sky, the dev team there just won a BAFTA award. And so kudos to them, right? In fact, let me look it up real quick and I'll tell you exactly what they won.
It
But
was a what award?
a BAFTA award.
Oh, I'm not.
And so they just won.
Familiar with that one?
Yeah, they just won the 2026 award for Evolving Game. And this is the second time that they've won it.
In a row, or it's
no,
not
2022 and then 2026.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, let me make sure I got those numbers correct for everybody listening. Yeah, 2022. So when you think about that and the open world concept, that is the best way to treat a game, in my view, when it's open world and you have run into some limitations.
Mm-hmm.
The limitations that I see with open world kind of fall into a few categories. Number one, I think the limitation is there's only so many times you can do the same thing over and over.
Correct.
And at some point you might get a little, you just might get a little bored. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
The other limitation is depending on the support for the game, right? There's not necessarily a subscription model or whatnot for every open world game. So that's fair, right? And then the other piece is back to the indie versus AAA, the financial, we'll say, starting point for those studios who want to create a big game like Witcher 3. Fantastic open world game. Amazing. And all the Witcher games are great. But I know it's on my backlog still. But anyway,
yes.
And but they have excellent story writers. They have amazing NPCs. They've got all kinds of capabilities to these things. Now, this is not a slight on anyone. This is just the realities that I see it falling into when it comes to open world games, right? Things like Valheim, things like No Man's Sky have done it very well. And kudos to the game you love, which is Enshrouded. They've done it very well. They know what they're doing. And I would love to have one. And this is going to be one of those Bryan wish list kind of games where it can continue to evolve and more areas would continue to grow, not just DLC kind of concepts, but because of my choices, the environment changes significantly. So that's what I'm hoping to see at some point.
You just want EverQuest Next, man.
I do. Thank you very much.
It's not coming.
Look, the wound is still there.
I know it's still there, and we all grieve and mourn the loss of that game.
Darn
but
you,
I feel
Sony
like
online entertainment.
I feel like No Man's Sky is just testing all these new systems so that Light No Fire comes out, and it's just epic survival. I can't wait for that game.
Light No Fire. So oh man, it's gonna be all. It's fly around a dragon-like creature. Heck yeah, please.
Yeah,
I'll take that. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a question.
All right,
it's going to be akin to the controller kind of related question.
Okay.
So, playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right?
Mm-hmm.
You played a little bit of it, right?
I finished Remake and I played a little bit of Rebirth, yes.
Did you get to the open world section of it?
Just at the beginning, yes. Just at the beginning of that. So I haven't experienced a lot of it. Yeah.
So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth helped me realize something. And I'm not saying it's bad, and it's not a slight against the game or anything.
All right.
But in 7, you have to find the towers, kind of akin to Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. And then when you go to the tower, it will show you events. It will show you locations that are on the map that you can then go to and do the combat trial, the puzzle, whatever it is.
Okay, got it.
And I remember playing the little bit of Rebirth and unlocking it and thinking to myself, I really dislike that compared to, say, Skyrim, where all these locations are out there, but you don't know it's there. You just have to stumble.
Oh, I get you. Okay.
And that just feels so much more organic compared to, hey, there's this thing over here. And I guess there's an argument to be made that, yes, in Final Fantasy VII, at least, they have more technology than in a
Mm.
Skyrim game, which is a
Mm.
high fantasy type game.
True.
But I like organically finding things versus just being told, "Hey, there's a thing over here."
Right. Do you align that same idea of organically finding things where some open world games, and this is going to be maybe a controversial statement, I don't personally think they're truly open world if they block a zone from me until I reach a certain point, level, story, whatever. Because do you akin what you were just saying to that same kind of thing? Like, why are you restricting me or only allowing me to experience certain content in a certain way? Whereas open world should be more, it's just there. And if you're silly enough at level 10 to go to a level 20 zone, well, good luck. Like Valheim, we'll just reference it again, right? If you're out there and you're hanging out and you're running around with that leather gear and you're like, oh, I'm doing awesome, I'm going to climb up this mountain, and a wolf slaughters you
Yeah,
within seconds, you're
yeah.
like, maybe I shouldn't go up the mountain yet.
Mhm.
Like, do you akin that same thing to what you're saying about Final Fantasy then? Like same feeling of like
It's
restriction?
it's different
Okay.
because that's restriction, kind of like the MMO, where yes, there is a
Mm-hmm.
level cap. There is you need to have a certain gear score or
Mm-hmm.
warmth score or whatever to
Mm-hmm.
progress up the mountain, and that I'm cool with. But I
Oh,
was
okay.
talking about specifically do you like being told what is on the map, or do you like discovering what is on the map
Oh, okay.
yourself?
Okay.
So that is a question to you, which you haven't answered
Mm.
yet. Which one do you prefer?
Hmm. Okay, let's divide it up because you know me, I'm annoying when I answer questions like this, so I'll accept that.
You
I
could have
always
ended it annoying. That's fine. But
no,
moving
no, it's
on.
fine. I'm willing to admit it. My friends, if you're listening right now, this is how I answer questions. I break them apart. So, to answer the question bluntly, I prefer it like you,
Mhm.
where I would experience it on my own, right? I mean, I don't mind clicking on a device that opens up the map for visibility
Right.
necessarily, right? That's okay with me. So that would be the piece I'm okay with. But I don't want to be told there's things over there, this thing's over there. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'd rather just experience it. And if the map maybe topographically has some obvious things like towns, I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me at all. It's more, I don't want to know what's there. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd rather experience it myself. So I align with you on that thought. However,
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay with me if you reveal the map. I'm okay with that. So,
Yeah. I just can't remember exactly. It's been so long since I played Breath of the Wild. I know it would
mm,
show you the geography around the tower.
yes,
I don't recall
yes.
if it told you, "Hey, there's a dungeon here. There's something over here."
It
I
was
think it
pretty
was just,
limited what it told you. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, that's what I
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Okay,
Same
so
with Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah,
which I haven't played yet. I will play it at some point.
man,
But listen, my backlog goes deep. All right, there's only so many hours in the day,
I get
and we
you,
chose
man.
to create a podcast.
I
So
know, I know. We're both like, hey, we're in the middle of our backlog. You want to talk about video games? Okay.
yeah, exactly. I know it's very well received and very popular and very good. So I hear about it,
Mm,
but I will play it at some point. But yeah, just when I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I was
mm,
just struck with. I don't love being told exactly where every single event or every single discoverable
mm,
is. Breath of the Wild showing more of the map, and you can maybe see. Oh, I think to your point, there's a town there based
right,
on what I'm seeing,
right,
but you still don't know who's going to be there, what event's going to happen, or
right.
yada yada yada.
No, it's
So,
exactly right.
so I guess what I'm trying to say is Skyrim and Breath of the Wild are my two golden examples of open worldness. And there's another
Mm.
game we haven't mentioned, which
Hold
is
on, can I write
Fallout.
this down? 1 second. Will said Skyrim is.
I thought you were serious. You're like, I'm going to pause the video and there's an edit I need to make. No, no,
No,
no.
no. You said something that warmed my heart, so I wrote it
Oh,
down.
well, listen, I haven't beat Skyrim, but I've
It's
played it.
okay.
I'm familiar with it
You
and
gave it
everything.
kudos. I mean, that's all you got to do to be my friend. So you're good.
No, but Fallout is another.
Yeah.
I've played I've done every single piece of content in 3.
Okay.
I have not beaten New Vegas. I got rather far.
Okay. All
And I
right.
have not beaten 4, which you
Yeah.
recently
Which I
just
just
beat.
beat. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I got to the point where you had to make the choice of who you're aligning with,
Mm-hmm.
and I just said I don't want to make a choice, and I stopped playing.
Oh. Oh. It is tough choice. Well, mostly tough. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
But Fallout also does the open world very similar to Skyrim and Bethesda.
Mm-hmm.
All games kind of follow the same format,
It
and
does.
that is very very fun. I feel like Fallout. I remember at least in Fallout, there's more random events just on the road than
Right.
necessarily Skyrim is, but
Yeah,
it's
you
been
don't have that much kind of like interaction randomness in Skyrim as much. Yeah. Agreed.
like yeah, in Fallout 4, one of the best guns is on a merchant that wanders a certain path, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to encounter them and buy it off of them in order
Mm,
to get the gun. And if you don't explore, you're not going to find this person. And it's
it's
not,
true.
again, you go to a tower and, oh, there's a merchant over here. You just have to go
Right.
play the game and find it. And I think it's called the spray and pray, literally, because it's
Oh, is
a
it?
Tommy
I
gun.
never got it.
Oh, it's a Tommy gun, and what it does is I think it's every bullet does 15% of its damage in
Mm.
a AoE radius to enemies around it.
Oh, wow.
So it's you're
Good name for the
literally a
gun.
machine gun,
Yeah.
but it's an AoE machine gun essentially.
That's awesome.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So, with your Fallout experience and kind of how that affects us the way we are as gamers, do you embrace that even though it's a different genre because it's it's post nuclear, it's zombies or well not necessarily zombies strictly in Fallout, but either way when you look at that and you say okay that genre and Skyrim and Valheim and all of those, I kind of forgive me friends if you're listening, don't hate me for saying this, but I kind of put those in one group because they have a similar structure. Like you have to survive. There's kind of things that
mhm.
happen around you. You're playing a role where the games like Elden Ring come out and they're open, but they're nasty. And so that I put that in its own little thing. Do you feel like you do the same thing? How like does that affect you that way as a gamer where you start kind of bucketing the open world nuances into their own little categories?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of I kind of piecemeal the whole
Yeah,
thing together. Like there are people that just wander and do whatever, or they follow quests. There's so
true.
many
True.
different ways to play these games, and I feel
Yes.
like the biggest issue, and they even quoted it in the Fallout TV show, where they
Oh.
said, "Ah, what is the damn quote?" They said something like, "Ye will get distracted by random bullshit." And it's true because if you're following the quest, which is what I often do, I don't often just go out
Mhm.
and explore. I'm okay. Here's a quest. I'm going to go do it,
You go
and
do
then
it.
you just find 20 things on the way. You're, what's this? What's that?
Oh,
And
yes. The
so I
open
just
world game
experience it.
produces the side quests like that. It does. Oh my gosh. I'm embarrassed to say how many side quests I have right now, even in my playthrough of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And Witcher 3 is bad for that as well. And then I mod things and it gets worse. Yeah. Yeah. It gets bad. It's like I have 50 side quests. I will never do these at all.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So I think what we're summing up in this episode is it started off with we weren't quite sure what to do because it was Nintendo hard still. And then
Mm.
it started morphing into better directions. And now it's you can't form a direction while playing open world games because you're just distracted constantly and you can't make a decision on how you want to play today.
That is a great summary
Yeah.
and a great place to stop for our segue because now I have to think about that for a few minutes. All right. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. And a little segment we're going to call From Game to Life. We've been talking about open world games,
Mhm.
talking about the features, functions, the experiences, the quest, the nightmare of the side quest, and how they
Right.
never stop. But there are parts and components that you and I both take on when we play open world together. We joked about it earlier. We have our roles, we know.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the roles you have is literally the gatherer and organizer of things.
Right.
All right. I don't know if there's a title for that. Let's just call it data management. So from game to real life, or maybe from life to game, either way, do you see that kind of behavior in your real life?
That's what I do day in and day out. I work in IT, brother. I don't understand. Yes. Yes.
Hey, I work in IT. I don't do that.
Well, that's fair. Okay. Yeah,
Come
you
on.
make sure things are, in check and all that. But no.
Yes.
So that's what I do day in and day out, and I think that's what you're hinting at. And yes, I mean, there is a role for that, and people need that. Every document, every standard documentation has a place that it should fall into, and you do need to revisit it from time to time to make sure it gets updated, or auditors know where it goes and stuff like that.
It's true. It's true.
So yes, I think you're trying to hint at yes, what I do for a living is also how I organize my survival games. Very good, Brian. Thank you.
No, I love it. You know why? And this is why I knew the answer to this, my friends. I knew I was going to answer the question. But what I love about this piece, it's a more psychological kind of discussion, because I would say the natural bend we all have to certain kind of behaviors in our real life does show up in our games. And I love that, because going and playing games with your friends is kind of funny, because I know what Will's going to do. When we get into a certain kind of game, I know what he's going to do. He's going to find joy in that. I'm going to find joy going out and trying to discover new things and dying 50 times, but it's fine. But I think that I think is what's really great. One more facet of gaming, especially in open world gaming, where you have the freedom to do that. You can be a part of who you are. And I think that's great. And so I had to at least ask that question,
Yeah, I mean, we're going back to inventory management, but you're making me think of, that's why I am the way I am. I'll go into a dungeon and it's like, okay, I'm over encumbered. Let me drop a pound of weight. Go back to my house, organize everything, sell everything, go back to the dungeon, pick up that one thing I dropped, and then proceed through the dungeon.
It's exactly true. And I love it. We're not going to talk about my habits, but anyway, on that note, we're going to go ahead and close out. I want to thank you, friends, all for joining, and don't forget to save. Thank you so much, friends, for spending part of your day with us at Pixelaged. With so many incredible podcasts out there, it means a lot to both Will and I that you chose to listen, and we hope that our show earns a spot among your favorites. I want to give a special shout out to guitarist Ron Martin. He's an amazing friend and seriously talented musician whose work brings our intro and outros to life. You can explore more of his music at the links in our episode and podcast descriptions, as well as the links on our YouTube page. Thank you so much, and remember, every memory is a save point.